Hey guys, it's Justin Schaff here, and today we're going to be talking about muscular imbalances and how to fix them. Now, muscular imbalances can present themselves in a few different ways. One is appearance. If you just visibly have one muscle or one side where a muscle is bigger than your other side, or one side where a muscle is smaller than your other side, you may have a muscular imbalance there, right? And this would only be a big issue in a sport like bodybuilding, where you want to be as symmetrical as possible and you want to make sure that, you know, your biceps are the same size, right? Or else it just looks kind of off, and you'll probably get docked some judging points for that. Finally, you can also get muscular imbalances in like movements, right? For example, years and years ago when I was benching and overhead pressing, one side would be locked out and the other side would be very far away from locked out. And in those circumstances, one side was definitely just a lot weaker than the other side. Now, one of the first things we have to do is decide if the muscular imbalance is actually something worth fixing. We're generally always going to have one side that's maybe a little bit stronger than the other side. But once again, I'll go back to my example of bench press and overhead press, where like one side was clearly locked out and the other side was very much lagging behind. That's not an efficient movement pattern, and it's probably also not safe, because it was to the point where if I didn't have a clip on, one side would probably be throwing weights off the bar, you know? That's not a good thing. We don't want that. So that would be a situation where it's definitely worth it to fix it. But some considerations are like if you have a side that you've injured pretty badly in the past, that may be something that you may not ever be able to really fix. Granted, we always want to make sure that we're functioning as well as possible, so we always want to be doing the work to make sure that, we're minimizing any sort of imbalance that there possibly could be. But at the end of the day, if you're functioning fine and you're not feeling any serious repercussions from whatever sort of imbalance you have, you may not have to think about it too hard. Now, if we're trying to fix an imbalance, how should we go about that? Because one is unilateral training. This just means we're training one side at a time. So like single arm overhead press or single arm bench press, Bulgarian split squats, single leg Romanian deadlifts, things of that nature. And with that, we want to train our weak side first, and then we can also treat each side as almost separate exercises and give ourselves rest time between our sides. So do your left leg, rest a minute or minute and a half or whatever, and then do your right leg. And then finally, focus on form and bilateral training, right? If we're doing a standard bench press, squat, or deadlift, if your form always gets super shaky above 85%, and I mean like shaky in the fact of like a muscular imbalance, like I said, like I talked about earlier, if you're benching and one side is all the way locked out and the other side is lagging behind, if that starts at 85%, maybe just focus on not going above 85% and just sticking to more submax weights and just lifting them properly and making sure that like you're doing your best to press through both sides. So finally, conclusion, find out if the muscular imbalance is actually an issue. If it is, then just focus on unilateral training to bring up the lagging side. And then finally, once again, focus on functioning as well as possible. We want to function as well as we possibly can. So any sort of imbalance could potentially hurt efficiency in our movements, or in case of bodybuilding, could like dock us points judging wise. So we want to make sure that we're trying to be as even as possible, but we need to understand and accept that we'll never be perfectly symmetrical. One side may never be the same as the other side. So yeah, I hope that helps, and if you have any questions, you can either leave a comment or send me a message. I'll be sure to reply or make a video on it. All right, thanks guys, bye.